Ferguson. We have a farm to go visit. Everybody duck. Yay. Excuse me. So, fought the belt system. Won, finally. We'll get some sugar beets for the pigs. I might use the little pickup truck in the evening to go and put water to all the animals. This is why I use this tractor as the yard tractor. It's a little slower than everything else. It's kind of useful for doing things like the bell system, just shuttling stuff around. It's such a low fuel usage when using 7.2 per hour. Kind of cheap to run. Class, which I think starts around 50 before you even start moving. Ooh. Some of everything on this farm is going to take a couple of hours to go through, so I'm going to just do manual accounting. How much wheat have I got? What's the current price? How much barley have I got? What's the current price? Just multiply it all out. Come up with a rough ballpark. This is what the farm was worth when we finished. Hi Andrew, I am doing okay. And super sexy sandwich. Hello to you too, welcome to the stream. Well, I guess I stopped selling the silage, so I'm going to have to do that in a minute. Oh no, that's fine. I crash a lot. It wouldn't be a proper stream if there wasn't crashing involved. Okay. Yeah, that's Well, there's a partially full crate up there in the middle. Let's try and see if we can grab that. Okay. Looks like we can reach it. Oops. Except I'm not lined up on it. That would help too. And off. Done. Okay, can we... Well, no, we can't reach because it's too far back. Okay, not to worry, we'll grab the front one. I'm not proud. I'm still playing this game because when Farm Sim 19 came out, most of the streamers and YouTubers were streaming the same 3 maps. And I also discovered I still had an achievement to complete, which still hasn't been completed, which is to breed 20 cows. Once I've bred 20 cows on this map, I will have completed all the achievements for Farm Sim 17. That will take place sometime in early summer when the cows reach their breeding season again. But till that happens, we're just working through the farm, and it's something I do on Saturday mornings. I play Farm Sim 19 on during the week, usually Monday to Wednesday. They're my Farm Sim days. Some form of trucking simulator on Thursday and World of Warships on Friday. And that was a good supply of... How much did we use? That was about 150. Thereabouts. Pigs was one of the last things. I hadn't even started with pigs. I did pigs on the first map I played, and then decided they're too much like hard work, I'm not going to bother. But late on this playthrough, I decided I still haven't completed the pig breeding. I'll get 80 pigs and see what happens, and it took me a matter of weeks to complete the pig breeding because they breed so fast. Let's shunt that up to there. There we go. So pigs are happy. Yeah, this map has been around since pretty much the first month that Farm Sim 17 that it came out, and I like the map. I've enjoyed it. I've got getting on for 600 hours playtime on this map, so that indicates how much I've enjoyed playing it. I usually stream every Saturday morning. However, I'm on vacation next week, so there will not be a stream next Saturday. But look for me on the 31st, and I should be back here on Lawfolds, ploughing fields and planting corn and soybeans, which is what we've got left to plant on this map. Nope, get back in, turn the engine off, jump out. Okay. I want to take that tractor over to the cow farm. And also the other advantage with this farm, because it was so mature, if you like, I have a lot of big machinery on it. I had a lot of big machinery on it, and the problem with starting out a brand new farm is you're limited amount of equipment, usually fairly small, maybe a medium tractor, but nothing really big. and we've got about 15 fields now. So I figured that, while everybody was getting started in 19, it would be good to continue a 17 with the big stuff. More variety, more fields to work. And then it just carried on going from there. I set myself the goal of finishing the cow breeding because I'm playing with seasons. Cows only breed during the summer months, so I have to wait until summer before the cows start up again. I've got one, maybe two more cows to breed before I complete the achievement, so it's going to be fairly quick once we get there. Okay, well, you take care. And yeah, we're going for a family reunion, so there's going to be party. We'll be visiting various sites there. We normally are going to go for the weekend, but this time out we're actually going for not quite a full week. And thank you for the follow, Andrew. A wagon. Do love this tractor. Huge tractor, all-wheel steering, so that it can get around a bit. Turn that off. So yeah, we'll be spreading manure once the cultivating's done. And speaking of that, should be going on just up the way here. Ouch. Wow. Okay, we've got quite a long way gone on this one. Hello. Where's the worker? Is it finished? Oh, there he is. Okay, so we've got a fair bit left to do on this field. Should be next. There he is. Okay, so this guy is finishing off this field. There's a fair bit to do. That's good. Jump out of here and go and take care of what's going on here. To babysit this for a bit. I can't back up anymore. At least we're making money again. It is a relaxing game. When I started off, I didn't have a PC that was capable of streaming and playing at the same time. So I used to play this while watching other streamers or other YouTube videos. And it's the sort of thing you can sit and, it's not like Truck Sim where you've got traffic and roads to negotiate. There's not much to crash into when you're in the middle of a field, although as you saw a little bit earlier, there are times when you have to watch where you're driving. But it's a fairly casual game as far as that sort of thing goes. And then last September we got a decent gaming rig for the first time in my life, and so at that point I decided, yeah, I'll do some streaming as well as playing. So I watch fewer streamers and YouTube videos. Everybody else gets to sit there and watch me relax. And as one of my friends said, hey, you've got a really good accent for YouTube. Which is probably true. Especially at this time of day. Or in the evenings. So, weekdays I stream. I'm East Coast time. So, evenings I stream usually about 8 o'clock-ish in the evening. So I'm going to move this around. No. This is not easy. There we go. That may clear that pile up. And I can just move it all forwards. Slowly move it down the bunker. Actually, we've got the detection to hit that pile all the way down there, but not this bit right next to us. So I'll move that over a bit. Try that again. There we go. And that bit... Oh, we still can't get that last bit. There it is. Okay, now we can run that down here. Nope, not that button. Okay, that was that way. Oh, how far short are we? Quite a long way. For now, we can back that up a bit. In spite of everything, this loading ramp has quite a good detection range. So sticking it there, we should clear out a fair amount of that bunker, but we are going to need another central unit to empty it completely. I don't have anything with a bucket here that could push the silage down the clamp. So that's all working good. Valtra is now here. I need something to load that wagon with manure. Whatever. Let's water the animals. So we're kind of getting up to lunchtime. Oh. I do have a YouTube channel. Sorry, I wasn't reading the chat for a bit. So, yeah, I got a YouTube channel. If you're watching on a PC browser, there is a panel at the bottom which provides a link. I've got YouTube section. I've started backing up my streams to YouTube channel, OSE on YouTube. So it's the same name, OSEH, OSA, but it's kind of difficult to find. If you search for Farming Simulator and OSA, you should find the channel. And you can catch all of the back episodes that I streamed of this particular playthrough. It does start quite late in the playthrough though, so you'll miss the early years, but you'll get the more recent stuff. There's also other Farm Sim 19 streams, World of Warships, and Euro Truck Simulator 2 and American Truck Simulator. I am 53 years old and just retiring as a foster parent. Now what am I doing here? Sheep food, water. Sheep water. I'll probably use most of this. Most of the time I try to keep the language fairly clean, but I'm from Britain, so sometimes Americans get offended with some of the words I use. And sometimes playing games like World of Warships I get incredibly frustrated, and at that point that particular stream is never ever going to make it to YouTube. Okay, thanks. So that's our sheep. Shut the gate. There we go. And we'll take this truck over to the other yards. Okay, that gate's shut. This is not an easy truck to drive. It's not your typical UK style truck. I do have a Land Rover on the main yard, but it's not quite as versatile as this thing. We'll go in here. I had the Land Rover on this farm from the get-go because it's a Land Rover and I'm in the UK, and you have Land Rovers in the UK on farms. Oh, okay, yeah. I have relatives in Australia. And the biogas plant stopped feeding again. Down to pig. Say hi to the piggies. Wee. Okay, piggies are in the middle. Piggies need a fair amount of water. We're already up to 100 pigs again. I sold about a third of my pigs over winter because people like bacon and ham in winter, apparently. And now we'll get back in the truck and head down to the cow farm. So all these fields are mine. Through the gate, then turn we. Ooh! And completely lose it because this truck doesn't behave well on the roads. Also, driving down roads like this at 50 miles an hour, probably not a wise idea. What state are they from? Oh, I honestly don't know. They're cousins of one of my grandparents. And they went out there years ago. I met them when I was a small child. So I don't remember them that well. And yeah, I mean they've been out there. I'm 54, so they've probably been in Australia about 40 years, if not more. And my paternal grandparents went out to visit them quite a while back, and my paternal grandparents are dead, so my mum will send them Christmas cards because she knew them. I really didn't, so I don't keep in touch. My sister's son was over in Australia, all over the place. He had a work visa, was doing bartending and stuff like that, but his visa ran out last year, and so he had to return back to England. And he's got himself a girlfriend from Colorado who's currently visiting with him. My last name is not Bennett. I have never been to Australia. I don't do flying too well. Not because I don't like flying. I like flying, but I prefer to be driving the plane rather than sitting in the back in a cramped seat. And spending ungodly numbers of hours on an aeroplane, I'm really not into. First time I was on a commercial jet was London to Los Angeles, which is quite a long trek, and we fly as little as possible. Most of the time I'll drive. I hate doing multiple flights, connecting flights, because that's just painful. If you miss your connection, or one of the flights gets cancelled, you're stranded somewhere. So I will drive 200 miles to an airport that will provide me with a direct flight to somewhere close to where I want to be, fly to the somewhere close that I want to be, and then I'll drive from there 200-300 miles to get to where I actually want to be. But I just don't do flying that much. I can fly a plane. I am not a qualified pilot. Unfortunately, I've done a lot of moving around. I started learning to fly when I was an IT consultant back in the UK, ran my own business, and thus had sufficient money to spare to do something interesting that was kind of pricey. And I racked up about 20-30 hours of flight time in the UK, but I then moved to America, California, and so it took me a while to find an airfield there with flight school. Flew probably another 25 hours, and I was pretty close to being at the point where I got enough hours under my belt I could take the flight test and become a pilot. And unfortunately, a couple of guys decided to fly large aeroplanes into large buildings in America. The airspace got shut down, and while commercial airlines were grounded for a few days, private flight was grounded for about 6 months, including flight schools. And the upshot of that was most of the flight schools in my area went broke because they're paying rentals on the planes. They've got to, most planes have mortgages on them. And if you're not using the plane for flight school, and you can't fly your plane either because the FAA says, nobody can fly unless they're commercial, you're kind of stuck. So a lot of people sold their planes, which is one source of where flight schools get their planes. People who own a plane will go to a flight school, say, hey, look, I've got this plane. I don't use it all of the time. How would would your flight school like to use this plane for students? They have to do maintenance a little bit more frequently, but they get an income from renting their plane out to the flight school. And obviously those people couldn't rent it out to the flight school because the flight school couldn't use it. The lights are on. And they couldn't, the flight schools couldn't get any income, so they couldn't pay their instructors, so the instructors had to find something else to do. They still had to pay rent on the flight office and everything else on the airfield, and any of the planes owned directly by the flight school, usually mortgaged, they couldn't afford to pay those, and so most of the flight schools went out of business. Now there are still flight schools, but where I was flying out of, all the ones at the airfields that I used went broke and there weren't any replacements, so that kind of stopped my ability to learn to fly. I did eventually find an airport with a flight school at it. I took one flight out of there, but then I transferred to Texas. And that was quite a big move for us because we were moving from California to Texas. And I never really got back into flying at that point. We now live in Michigan. And while I could start back up, it's going to cost me quite a bit to get what they call currency back. You have to fly a certain number of hours per year. The problem I have, because I haven't taken my flight test, I would have to go to a flight school, persuade the senior flight instructor that I know what I'm doing in an aeroplane, which costs money. I have a various once he's convinced I know what I'm doing, I still have to work up back to competency, because obviously I haven't flown for 15 years. So he has to be satisfied I know what I'm doing and I'm completely competent to take a plane up on my own. Then there's a couple of things I have to complete, which is a couple of hours of flight to get all of the hours I need to be able to be eligible to take my test, and then I'd have to take my test. All in, that's going to cost about $2,000. And that's $2,000 I don't really have right this minute to do something that it's a hobby and I'm probably never going to use it that frequently. It was fun when I did it, and I am a fairly rare person in that I have reasonable competency landing an aeroplane. So a chat I had with one of my California flight instructors, and he said, he was telling me he had a couple of other students and they really didn't have a clue about landing an aeroplane. And until they got that clue, he wasn't going to let them go up on their own, because the standard saying is for a pilot, you always have a choice whether your wheels leave the ground, whether you take off. You never have a choice about coming back down again. Once you're in the air, you are going to end up on the ground somewhere. And if you are not competent enough to get an aeroplane on the ground, then you don't need to be taking it up on your own.